Hello there, thanks for joining me. My name is Joe Foy. I'm Protected Areas Campaigner for the Wilderness Committee. We're an environmental organization based in Vancouver, British Columbia that works to protect Canada's wild nature. And I produced a video about our activities that runs from about May of 2019 up until April of 2020. We have offices in Vancouver, Victoria, Winnipeg, and Toronto, and we work on issues right across the country. It's been a wild ride this year. We've got to visit and work to protect some amazing wild places, worked on getting legislation to protect some of Canada's beautiful and amazing wild species. And we've also got to work with just a whole list of really incredible people. All in all, it's been a great year. At the end of the day, we've also got some amazing wins for nature. So sit back, relax. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm sure you're going to enjoy the show. Every year we publish our annual report. In it you'll find out about the wild areas we work to protect, the wild species too. You'll find out about the people and organizations we work with, and some information on our finances. You can find our annual report on our website, which you'll find by Googling up the Wilderness Committee. On it you'll find out about all the issues and places we work on, as well as how you can support our work and join the fight to save Canada's wild nature. In May, a team from our Victoria office partnered up with Sierra Club to head up to northern Vancouver Island. They were there to check out some of the remaining ancient temperate rainforest. They were also there to check out some of the clear-cut logging. One of the first valleys they visited was the Tashish River Valley, where there has been a lot of clear-cut logging, but also has some beautiful old-growth forests. While there, they found new roads constructed by BC Timber Sales.
Behind me is the west side of the Tashish watershed in New Channel territory on northwestern Vancouver Island. You can see the behind me there is a pretty nice undisturbed old-growth forest. It's being targeted for logging next year by BC Timber Sales. And this side of the river that I'm on has been logged, and that side behind me hasn't. So the plans back there are pretty extensive, and it highlights the need to get in touch with our government and call on them to stop the destruction of old-growth rainforest so that we can keep that side of the river looking like that.
We published one of our educational reports on how the continued logging of old-growth forest in BC is causing many species to slide closer towards extinction. We called for a complete ban on logging old-growth forests in the province. Acting on a tip, a team from our Vancouver office headed up the Fraser Valley into the Fraser River Canyon and then up the Spuzum Creek Valley to check out reports that a new logging road had gotten into spotted owl habitat, and that's old-growth forest. There's not much left in the Spuzum Creek Valley. So we're up on this brand new logging road that's just been constructed in the Spuzum Creek Valley, and we can see that this logging road has gotten into this beautiful Douglas fir forest, mixed age stand. Oh, just classic spotted owl habitat in a place that doesn't have many spotted owls habitat left, but there is certainly beautiful habitat here. The thing about this area in the Fraser Canyon is this is where the last known spotted owls live. We asked that the federal government step in immediately and use the Species at Risk Act to put an end to the logging plans. Our Winnipeg office, using information gathered from Manitoba's Duck Mountain Provincial Park, where shockingly logging is still allowed, produced an animated map which shows the terrible impact industrial logging is having on the park. rushed industrial project to build a frac sand mine near the community of Hollow Water had our Winnipeg office scrambling to provide the information that the community would need in order to fight back against the damaging and short-sighted project. When the BC government approved logging in endangered southern mountain caribou habitat, our Vancouver office let people know about it on the radio.
It pained me to realize this, because that means that while they were, negotiating in good faith, supposedly, with the West Moberly and Saulteaux First Nations, they were also rapidly approving cut blocks in the critical habitat of southern mountain caribou.
In June, our Vancouver office joined with friends and allies to protest Prime Minister Trudeau's terrible Trans Mountain Pipeline project.
If it all sounds familiar, that's because it is. This is the second time the federal government has said yes to the pipeline expansion. All right, let's go live to CTV's David Molko on the ground in the middle of that protest that we showed you just a few minutes ago in Vancouver. David, what is the atmosphere and the reaction where you are?
Here we have all sorts of signs, all sorts of colorful characters saying they are not buying what the Prime Minister said about keeping an open mind about this process from the beginning. I can also tell you right now that there is going to be another court challenge all the way to the Court of Appeals and possibly all the way to the Supreme Court.
My message to the federal government is, you can go ahead and try, but communities are prepared to fight you at every step.
And in the words of the Wilderness Committee, who's holding this rally, and you just heard from them there, this decision is an unforgivable betrayal. You see the sign behind me saying, so this is reconciliation, ? This group plans to leave here in a few minutes' time, march up the middle of Georgia Street, will make a left turn through the middle of downtown Vancouver. We'll be with them over the course of this hour as we watch the reaction to this decision unfold. Scott?
All right, thanks very much, David, in downtown Vancouver tonight.
Hey everybody, I'm Peter McCartney, the climate campaigner at the Wilderness Committee. I'm here to give you a quick update of what's going on all along the Trans Mountain Pipeline route through British Columbia, and we're committed to making sure that communities know what's going on in their backyard as construction and protests unfold. All along the Trans Mountain Pipeline route, we've seen construction proceed in fits and starts on temporary infrastructure sites, staking and clearing, and of course at the two facilities in Burnaby.
Our Victoria office led a team of volunteers to work on the Colloquiet Nation's Big Tree Trail on Mears Island. That's very near Tofino on the west coast of Vancouver Island. Then we joined in BC-wide protests against the continued logging of old-growth forests.
Save the earth, save our home. Chanting, raising signs, and armed with megaphones.
There are limits.
Demonstrators rally in 17 different cities across the province, but their message is the same.
To let the provincial NDP government know that they can't keep ignoring the voices of citizens that are calling for the protection of the last remaining old-growth forests.
Environmentalists say on Vancouver Island alone, it's being logged at a rate of 30 soccer fields a day. or roughly 10,000 hectares per year. Soon there might not be anything left to save.
If John Horgan doesn't step up and protect old growth forests, future premiers aren't going to have an opportunity to do so.
Patty Stanton, Global News.
Our Vancouver office sent a team to the gateway of Manning Provincial Park to collect names on a petition opposing a proposal to allow mine exploration between Manning and Skagit provincial parks.
Come into Manning Park. The reason I'm here is there's a proposal by a mining company you may have heard of, Imperial Metals, to put a mine in an area right in the middle of Manning and Skagit parks. They want to drill for gold and see if they can find a gold mine. So we're here collecting signatures on our petition. We have set here up here in the little table. Come by and sign our petition. I'm here with Isal and with Christina, and Isal especially is our champion signature collector. It's awesome. So many people have signed our signatures because, of course, they don't want to see logging and mining in Skagit provincial parks. Last year, logging started up in the same area. Our champion petition getter is Sahal. And he goes and speaks to the people and collects all these awesome signatures on the petition, which then goes to the Premier of the province.
Our Winnipeg office produced an educational report listing the many reasons why the government of Manitoba needs to ban logging and mining in provincial parks. In July, our Vancouver and Victoria offices teamed up to do a survey of lower mainland recreation areas that have old-growth forests. One of our first stops was the Eaton Lake Trail, where we found beautiful old-growth forest and a wonderful hike. Unfortunately, this area is not yet protected within a provincial park. And then a team from our Vancouver office headed up to the South Okanagan to attend an announcement by the Government of Canada that an agreement had been reached to work with the Government of BC and with the South Okanagan First Nations government on the designation of a National Park Reserve in the South Okanagan. What a tremendous win for nature, a tremendous win for government cooperation. Wonderful to see the governments of Canada and BC working with the First Nations governments, and what a wonderful win for Wilderness Committee Conservation and Policy campaigner Charlotte Daw, who had been working tirelessly on this campaign. Just a great day, first win of this reporting period, but it's not the last. A team from our Vancouver office headed up to the northeast of British Columbia to check out the destructive fracked gas industry.
Gas plants, compressor stations, man camps, flare stacks, frack pads, wastewater ponds, this entire landscape is a casualty of the fracked gas boom in northeast British Columbia. I'm Peter McCartney from the Wilderness Committee, and I'm here outside Progress Energy's Caribou gas plant, about 2 hours north of Fort St. John. You can't even call this a boreal forest anymore. It's been so heavily fragmented from the fracking industry here. As you can see behind me, the flare stack pumps carbon pollution into the atmosphere 24/7. And just across this berm is a toxic wastewater pond where they put the frack fluid that they pump deep underneath the earth to get the gas out of the ground. I'm here to meet with local communities and see what's at risk if 2 liquefied natural gas plants are built on the west coast of British Columbia, requiring 9,000 new frack wells between them. There are still wilderness areas far in the northeast corner of the province that haven't been touched by the fracking boom. But if the liquefied natural gas industry moves forward, we can say goodbye to what's left of the boreal forest in British Columbia. That's why we are working to stop fracking and why we're here on the ground to bring information to you to help make it happen.
Our Vancouver office produced an educational report on fracked gas production in British Columbia. We called for an outright ban on fracking. Our Vancouver office sent a team to the Alberta tar sands, where the largest tar sands mine proposal ever was being proposed.
The scale here is unimaginable. I'm Peter McCartney, the climate campaigner for the Wilderness Committee, and I'm here across the Athabasca River from a tar sands project called CNRL Horizon. And it's aptly named because it takes up the entire horizon behind me here, with oil refineries, giant bricks of sulfur, flare stacks, and a tar sands mine 50 meters deep. It's just one of a dozen or so projects here that have transformed the landscape here in northern Alberta. I'm here for the hearings into the Teck Frontier Mine, the largest ever proposed tar sands project in northern Alberta. If built, it would sail past Alberta's 100 megaton cap on emissions from the tar sands, make it impossible for Canada to meet its climate targets, and take us even further away from the global goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Join us for more at the Wilderness Committee on how we are going to stop the Teck Frontier Mine.
Our Victoria office organized a group of volunteers to head over to the central Walburn Valley to build and repair boardwalk trail in the magnificent old-growth forest there. The trail effort is all part of our campaign to get this area declared off-limits to logging. In August, the Victoria office of the Wilderness Committee organized a group of trail building volunteers to head over to the west coast of Vancouver Island, this time to Flores Island in the heart of Ahousaht territory. We had been invited there by the Ahousaht to help re-clear the Walk the Wild Side trail, which moves from beach to beach on the west side of Flores Island. The combination of abundant beaches and expansive old-growth forests make this area absolutely spectacular. A team from our Victoria office joined together with Sierra Club to head out once again to the west coast of Vancouver Island, this time to Nootka Island in Nuchatlat territory, to have a look at the remaining old-growth forest there, as well as the extensive clear-cut logging that spread over much of the island. The Nuchatlat are currently in court to get their land back.
We're in the northwest region of Nootka Island, which is Nuchatlat territory, and this is our second day here on Nootka, and we've been exploring all over the back roads, and it has been extremely heartbreaking just to see how much has been logged over here, and the few remaining stands of old growth are few and far between. Devastating areas with huge stumps everywhere.
We launched an expedition from our Vancouver office to document a BC timber sales logging operation in the donut hole between Manning and Skagit provincial parks.
Having a look at the logging that was done right in the middle of Manning and Skagit provincial parks in an area called the Donut Hole. This logging was done last year, and I'm just blown away by the amount of wood waste. Never mind the destruction of these clear cuts in an area that should remain as wilderness and be reincorporated into the parks.
We were honored to be invited by the Spuzzum First Nation to attend their Return of the Salmon celebration in the Fraser Canyon near the old Alexandria Bridge. It's been a tough year for salmon, with low returns, mine pollution, and other threats to salmon survival.
Well, the future of one of BC's most important salmon spawning cycles is very much in doubt tonight. Environmentalists are slamming the government's response to a rock slide that's blocking the Fraser River at the worst possible time. CTV's Regan Hasegawa tells us why a plan to send more help is already being called too little, too late.
This has the potential to be the worst environmental disaster in British Columbia's history.
Peter McCartney says the response to the Fraser River rock slide has been too slow, and now it's too late.
At this point, it's triage.
There are an estimated 90,000 salmon in the area right now, but the Fraser sockeye run is expected in the next week.
That's about 2 million salmon. The fact that they're not ready for that is very concerning.
The slide was reported in June, but is believed to have happened in November. After nearly a month of planning, officials began transporting the salmon upstream by helicopter.
Currently, we have moved approximately 14,000 fish.
Just 15% of the current population, and it's believed only half of those fish continue to migration.
A deadline is looming for laying charges against the company responsible for one of the worst environmental disasters in BC history. On August 4th, 2014, a dam broke at Imperial Metals Mount Polley copper and gold mine, sending 24 million cubic meters of toxic water and mine tailings into Polley Lake, Hazeltine Creek, and Quesnel Lake. 2 years ago, the deadline to file provincial charges against the company expired, and now environmentalists say the deadline to file federal charges is about to expire as well.
Getting right down to the wire here, it's very important that charges are laid. The whole mining industry is looking at this, as well as many Canadians are wondering, are the rich and powerful, are the big mining companies going to be held to the same standards as the rest of us are? And Canadian justice, I think, is on the line here.
Well, it's been 5 years since the Mount Polley disaster. 24 million cubic meters of mine waste and sludge spilled out of the mine's tailings pond, eventually flowing into Quesnel Lake, northeast of Williams Lake. Over the weekend, the deadline for the federal government to lay charges in the case came and went. And Joe Foy has been watching for that decision. He's the co-executive director of the Wilderness Committee, and he joins us in studio this morning. Good morning to you, Joe.
Good morning.
Take us back to that tailings pond breach. What did it look like when it first occurred?
Well, it looked like the gates of hell opened up.
Is it likely that we could see another disaster like this, or is this a lesson in how to prevent future breaches?
Well, in our view, that the whole idea of making these massive impoundments with tremendous amounts of water sitting on top of tailings needs to be abandoned as a way to deal with mining in the province. A team from our Winnipeg office discovered a mining claim inside Whiteshell Provincial Park.
Is Whiteshell Provincial Park the place for a mine? No. But over my shoulder there, you'll see a mining claim post that's been put in place in the last year or so. The Wilderness Committee has been calling for an end to mining in provincial parks for more than a decade. As I walked out to this place today, I passed the remnants of industrial activity inside our provincial park. Mining, drill sites, old industrial activity, and of course clear cuts from when we used to log our parks too. If you're as angry about mining in parks as I am, visit wildernesscommittee.org and learn how you can help end mining in parks. I'm Eric on the ground for the Wilderness Committee.
In September, our Winnipeg office put on the 6th annual Paddle for Protection, a day trip in canoes down the lower Bird River to bring attention to the endangered river. This year, it was the most popular yet, requiring several trips to accommodate all the people that wanted to paddle the river. We teamed up with our friends from the Wildlife Defense League to mount an expedition to visit a number of valleys containing endangered southern mountain caribou habitat. The expedition first went to the Upper Adams River Valley to visit a mine site within caribou habitat, then moved over to Revelstoke and finally to an area around Wells Gray Provincial Park. It was there that the expedition ran into new logging roads entering endangered southern mountain caribou forest habitat in preparation for logging. Our Victoria office headed up the production of an educational report about the crisis in British Columbia's dwindling old-growth forests. When Greta Thunberg came to Vancouver and put out a call for climate action support, the Wilderness Committee team showed up on the streets of Vancouver.
Hey everybody, this is Peter McCartney, climate campaigner at the Wilderness Committee. We are here on Hornby Street. It was a massive crowd. I don't think I've ever seen Schwenneck Square that full. There's probably 10,000 people at least here for sure. It's been a really great day. Greta's leading us, but there are a whole bunch of really rock star Indigenous youth. Some youth from Chile are here to stand in solidarity with the folks and what's going on in their country. And it's been pretty beautiful. It started out pouring rain today.
In October, a team pulled from our Vancouver, Winnipeg, and Toronto offices headed out to Ontario's Algonquin Provincial Park. The team was in Algonquin Park to witness the great forest fall colors that this park is world renowned for, but also to witness for themselves the logging that's been damaging this park for decades, and to make a call that in these last parks like Algonquin, where logging is still allowed, it needs to be banned. Parks should be for nature and people to enjoy.
We're standing in the threatened forest in Algonquin Provincial Park. I'm Torrance, National Campaign Director with the Wilderness Committee, and I'm here with Katie, Ontario campaigner, and Eric, our Wilderness and Water campaigner.
We are in the middle right now of an old growth forest in the middle of Algonquin. Behind us is a white pine that's over 150 years old. We've also seen white birches, maple trees, and beeches. But like many parts of Algonquin Park, this forest is not protected.
The Wilderness Committee has been calling for an end to logging in parks for many years. Algonquin Provincial Park is one of the last parks being logged. If you want to learn more about this, visit wildernesscommittee.org/Ontario.
Then, as we do at least once a year, folks from our offices right across Canada came together to plan our wilderness and wildlife saving activities for the next 12 months. A team from our Vancouver office headed to the little West Kootenay community of Argenta, located near the north end of Kootenay Lake. We were there to see a 6,000 hectare wild forested area known locally as the Argenta Face. The Argenta Face is not protected forest land, but is surrounded on 3 sides by the Purcell Wilderness Conservancy, which is a protected area. Endangered southern mountain caribou have been documented living in the forests of the Argenta Face. We were invited up by local residents who are concerned about impending logging plans for the Argenta Face forest and want to see the area protected and added to the Purcell Wilderness Conservancy. In November, we kicked off the month by celebrating my retirement from management at the Wilderness Committee.
We're here to celebrate tonight the career of the one and only Joe Foy. Give it up for Joe. First things first, I want to acknowledge that we're holding this celebration on the unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and that all wilderness, all nature is in Indigenous territory. And when we do this work, we have to move forward with that spirit. Joe's done that for his career, and we all should moving forward.
So I'm going to say a little prayer. It's a good day today. And I want to say congratulations to Joe. Let's all hear it for him. You're going to hear that all night, I think.
It's now time for a video interlude.
Hi, my name's Beth Clark. I'm the Executive Director of the Wilderness Committee. I've had the honor and privilege of working with Joe Foy over the past 9 years. Each year, from his living room, Joe narrates the annual year-end video highlighting the work of the Wilderness Committee over the past 12 months. Today, from my living room, I'll be narrating the Joe Foy retirement video, entitled, appropriately, Raise a Little Hell. This one's for you, Joe.
Good times, good memories, and hanging out with good friends. Our Victoria office teamed up with our friends at Sierra Club to head up island to the town of Campbell River to hold a community conversation event in the local recreation center about the future of old-growth forests. But the managers of the venue got cold feet and shut the meeting down before it could even get started.
There has been a heated new turn in the island forestry crisis. A BC Environmental Group had organized an event in Campbell River to speak on forest practices and climate change. But some of the thousands of forestry workers currently on strike or laid off plan to crash the party. CTV's Gord Kurbis shows us what happened.
They're lined up outside Campbell River's community center because the event they're here to witness was canceled with little notice. Laid off and striking loggers, already upset about what's happening to their industry, came to hear a presentation about logging and climate change by the Sierra Club and Wilderness Committee, but they won't get that chance. Today, the city of Campbell River confirmed they did cancel the meeting over security concerns.
Rumors were that there was anywhere from hundreds to up to 700 people coming for the rally. At the last minute, the city of Campbell River could not put the security plans in place to be able to control that many people. So we unfortunately had to cancel the event.
I don't think it would have been a safety issue for anyone involved, so we definitely have some questions for the city of Campbell River, and we hope to come back and continue this conversation.
The city says it will give the groups the chance to hold another event with a proper security plan in place. Gord Kurbis, CTV News, Campbell River.
Our Vancouver office held our annual open house event.
There's some very exciting things happening today. Our 6-year board member, who was probably the chair for every single year except one of those, I can't remember, so pretty much it was like, you want to be on the board? That's awesome. Oh, hey, could you be the chair for 5 years? Shannon Daub is here with us today. We have a tiny little token of our appreciation.
Hello, everyone. As most of you know, every year we award a member of the movement of the environmental community for outstanding leadership in the fight for a better world. And they're the coolest people. The Venn diagram of my personal heroes and Eugene Rogers winners is just a circle. They're like the same people. It's a warrior that a lot of you will know. This year's Eugene Rogers Award is to Canahoose Manuel, who is the leader of the Tiny House Warriors and which is one of the front lines of the fight against the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Congratulations to Canahoose, and we've got a few words from her now.
Yeah, I had the honor and the pleasure to work quite a bit with Canahoose and the Tiny House Warriors. Her family, it comes from the Manuel family, a really strong, powerful Secwepemc family that has been doing this work for generations.
Our Vancouver office put on a trivia night based on local wilderness and wildlife issues. It was really popular. In December, our Manitoba field office, based in Winnipeg, celebrated 20 years of wilderness and wildlife preservation work with a great big old party.
Wilderness Committee is delivering thousands of letters to the Manitoba government.
And then we achieved another win for nature when the BC government announced that logging by BC Timber Sales would no longer be allowed in the donut hole between Manning and Skagit provincial parks. So what I'm asking you to do now is to write the provincial government and thank them for their fantastic move of banning logging in the donut hole. That was great. Silver Daisy Valley, 26-mile valley, we now have a reprieve. They're not faced with immediate logging, and that is awesome that they've taken the move. The provincial government has taken the move to ban logging. Now we need to see them work diligently to get the Imperial Metals mining tenure extinguished so that the province can then move to work with First Nations to get the area protected. In January, a team from our Ontario field office, based in Toronto, headed out to Cachacoma Forest to join the fight for its preservation.
You discover the forest, you realize, and you through the tree coring, you pull out these cores and you count them, and 350-year-old tree. And then after some more mapping work, we realized the extent of the forest, and then connected that this is in fact what looks to be the largest old-growth eastern hemlock forest stand in the country. So then, okay, what do you do next? So, do you talk to the media, talk to the forest company, do you talk to the politicians?
We're here not only to celebrate it, to connect with the forest, but also to help protect it. Because, as many of you might have known or know already, it is scheduled to be logged this winter, parts of it anyways, and actually the logging has already begun. So we're going to be celebrating, but we're also going to see some of the sort of destructive side of logging, and hopefully it'll raise all of our awareness and all of our desire to actually fight and work and advocate to get the rest of this forest protected.
In February, we celebrated wildly at news of the signing of a groundbreaking Caribou Partnership Agreement between First Nations and the governments of BC and Canada. This agreement, led by West Moberly First Nation and Saulteaux First Nation in the Peace River District, is a tremendous breakthrough in the conservation of caribou habitat and even includes an expansion of provincial parkland. And then another wonderful win for nature, this time in Manitoba, where the proponent for the frac sand mine in Hollow Water decided to not move forward with the project, citing a poor financial climate. And then, wow, another win for nature, this time in Alberta, where the proponents for the Tech Frontier tar sands mine dropped their application, citing poor financial conditions for their oil sands product. This would have been the biggest tar sands mine in all of Canada. Wow, what a tremendous win for nature. Meanwhile, in British Columbia, skyrocketing costs for the Trans Mountain Pipeline put that project on shaky financial ground as well.
The cost of the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion skyrocketed today. The project is already controversial, and now legal delays and design changes are putting taxpayers on the hook for billions more than what the government had predicted.
This environmentalist says this is the time for Ottawa to walk away before the costs get any worse.
The federal government needs to understand that $16 billion could go a long way to fighting climate change rather than making it worse. You know, there's just so many better ways to spend this than building a pipeline for an industry that we know cannot exist in a matter of years.
The estimated cost of the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion has ballooned by more than $7 billion. The project now to come in around $12.6 billion.
It is staggering that the government's prepared to spend over $16 billion. I hope that Canadians are starting to realize this thing just isn't worth it and we need to cut our losses. That's a lot of transit. That's a lot of renewable energy. That's high-speed rail. It's retraining for oil and gas workers. These are all things that we have to do. There's a lot of work to be done to solve climate change, and we should be spending our money on actually taking advantage of that and preparing our economy for the future.
Our Vancouver office produced a report laying out the pathway to walking away from oil and gas and walking towards a clean climate future. And then our Manitoba field office, based in Winnipeg, discovered more mining industry destruction within a provincial park, this time in Nopaming.
Is this what you want your provincial park to look like? This is industrial mining destruction in Nopaming Provincial Park, filmed in February 2020. The Wilderness Committee has been calling for an end to mining in parks for more than a decade. The nature and wilderness in our provincial parks is finite. We are losing more every year. A survey in the summer of 2018 found that 70% of Manitobans want to end industrial activity in parks, but the government isn't acting. We can end mining in parks with your help. Visit wildernesscommittee.org/endparkmining and voice your opinion.
In March, our Manitoba field office, based in Winnipeg, started to fight back against a provincial government plan to privatize Manitoba's provincial parks.
The initiative was outlined by the Premier in a mandate letter to the Minister of Conservation and Climate. But as CTV's Josh Crabb reports, that idea isn't sitting well with everyone.
Wilderness Committee Director Eric Rader says Manitoba's strategy should be focused on protecting public spaces.
Any government that decides they need to take a step back from that responsibility and instead work on cutting red tape or trying to find somebody to give them money instead of taking on responsibility of protecting parks and nature, they're going in the wrong direction.
The minister expects more information about the park strategy to be released in the near future.
In April, a team from our Victoria office headed out to the Coxila Grove, a stand of old-growth Douglas fir trees on southeastern Vancouver Island.
Hey, this is Torrance with the Wilderness Committee. I'm here in the Coates Isla Grove, which is an old-growth Douglas fir forest just outside Shawnigan Lake in Cowichan Territory. I'm here because in this time of social distancing, it's one of the only old-growth forests that I can get out to without leaving my home region and traveling through other communities. So I'm here today taking photos, shooting videos, because in addition to everything else that's happening in the world, this spring and summer is a critical time for old-growth forests in British Columbia. Because of thousands of us raising our voices, the BC government has responded and last year ordered a review of its broken old-growth policies. This spring and summer, they'll be looking at the results of that review and deciding what changes need to be made and what legislation needs to be changed. We know that governments will only prioritize what the public tells them to, so we need to make sure old growth is a priority for the BC government. You can follow the links to take various actions at the bottom of this video, and together we can all raise our voices and create enough momentum to keep forests like this standing forever.
Well, that's all for now. If you would like to help win campaigns with the Wilderness Committee, just go to our website at Wilderness Committee and check out some of the fantastic things we're working on. There's going to be more tremendous wins in the future, and you can be part of that. This has been Joe Foy, Protected Areas Campaigner for the Wilderness Committee. Bye for now.